Hello, and welcome to the Doing the Most podcast. I'm Shannon Fairweather, and I am your host. Today, I am so excited to be talking with a true Boston success story. You may recognize her voice from WEEI, The Greg Hill Show, Miss Courtney Cox. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. And can I just say, I've known you since I was in college. So you were, I'm trying to think age-wise how much younger you are than I am.
You literally could... I have no idea.
I think you were an eighth. I think you might have been in 8th grade when I met your mom.
Okay.
And she had me on Dirty Water and helped me build a reel while I was in college. And to see you now, your apartment, first and foremost, is outrageous.
I'm so glad you liked the studio.
Proud of you. This is so cool.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be able to connect with you in this way because you are also doing such amazing things. And obviously, as someone who has looked up to you for so long, I know who you are. But to our listeners who might be confusing you with Monica from Friends, can you just give us a quick background on who are you?
Oh, well, I was born and raised in Lowell, Mass. I went to Bishop Girton High School in Nashua, New Hampshire. So anybody who's local would know where that is. But then I went to Boston College. I was a cheerleader. My freshman year, I met Molly McGrath, who's doing unbelievable things on ESPN. She said, what do you want to do? I see that you're a communications major. You're taking all of these. Just a side note, and I'm going to do this all the time. I talk and then I just sidetrack.
I love that. Me too.
But when I was a freshman, nobody explained to me really you should really do your core curriculum and then branch out and do other types of classes that you're interested in. Get math out of the way your freshman year. I was taking a math class my senior year of college.
Yeah.
I was taking public speaking and editing classes my freshman year. So she's like, I don't know what you're doing with your class regimen and how you want to figure out the next 4 years, but you seem like you want to do something in broadcasting. No one had ever said that to me before. Everybody always talks about how I love to talk. I was always in trouble in school by teachers, parent-teacher conference. I was always crossing my fingers when my parents got home, please just let this go easy. And I said, yeah, that's a good idea. And she graduated. She was a senior captain of the cheerleading team my freshman year. She graduated, and then I took over the show that she had that was interviewing athletes. And then from there on out, I worked for the ACC when I graduated. I moved to North Carolina, and then I needed to get back to Boston. That's all I wanted to do was get back. And
as we all do, all roads lead back to Boston, don't they?
Always.
So you talk about how you were a communications major. When did you really know you wanted to really focus in on the sports?
Well, I don't know. I'm still probably figuring that out. I love sports. I was like I said, I was a cheerleader, so football and basketball probably have my heart and always will. Right now, obviously, with the Red Sox, I'm all in on that as well. But I'm not going to lie and say I'm a massive baseball fan in general. I'm just not. And I can try to force myself to be all I want. But, I love this team right now.
Yes.
But the actual sport has never just taken a hold of me.
Right.
So I love doing entertainment stuff. I love doing lifestyle stuff. And I think the job that I'm in right now kind of combines all of my passions.
Cool.
It's sports, entertainment, news, lifestyle, personality driven. So it's kind of the best of 5 worlds, if you will. I was going to say best of both worlds, but there are multiple.
There are multiple.
Yeah, but I think sports originally, it's just, I like talking to people and I like hearing about how their life kind of plays out in a way that they're going in college sports. I don't think there's more passionate people to interview when it comes to student athletes because they're giving it their all to just get to that job. We can all say that we're doing that, but these guys and ladies day in, day out, going to class and then going to training and practice, it's incredible to me. And now I'm in the pro side of it, which is different because they're getting a massive paycheck while also doing all of that stuff. But it's just fun. It's I'm not saving lives, and I commend the ones that do because I can't imagine that pressure. The hardest part about my job is dealing with trolls on the internet. So, I can't complain.
Yes, I love it. And you just touched so many great points, but something that I want to go back to is you being a kid and being very talkative. How important do you feel it is to really look at the things that you enjoyed as a kid and kind of keeping that in your job and your career?
I'll never forget my 4th grade parent-teacher conference. I had a teacher who said to my mom, she's always talking, and I'm always having to tell her that she doesn't need to, answer every question or raise her hand for everything or trying to talk to her friends. And my mom said, I don't see an issue with that. I would rather have a daughter who's outgoing and wanting to talk and question things than somebody who is really, more of an introvert. And if she's not an introvert, then we should be praising that. We should be lifting her up, not trying to bring her down. And I was never disrespectful. I think that there's a line there as a child. If you're being disrespectful to a teacher, that's one thing. But if you are, you want to have these conversations with everybody, I just wanted to talk all the time. And I think looking back, the career I chose is you could have told my parents that when I was 5.
Yes.
I said, yeah, that would probably make sense. So I've just always been that way.
I love that. I love that too, because I feel like sometimes, and things are obviously changing, but girls specifically can kind of feel a need to be a bit more quiet, to kind of tone themselves down. And I love how specifically your mom really encouraged you to be yourself and speak your mind.
Yeah. I think my parents have been my biggest cheerleaders. I know you have 2 parents that are super, super helpful and always singing your guys' praises, you and your brother. But for me, I'm an only child. So my parents, they're like my best friends. And
that's
so
awesome.
Having that relationship, God, I don't know where I would be without that.
That's so amazing. And I also love how you recognize that you are doing sports related things right now, but there's also other parts to that job that you really, really enjoy. If you weren't doing sports, what do you think the next kind of realm you would be in? Do you think it would be lifestyle, entertainment?
I would say entertainment, probably.
Yeah, cool.
I'm not somebody who goes home from work and then is trying to look up every stat and, check in on every storyline just sports related.
Right.
Like I go home, I watch The Bachelor, I watch Real Housewives, I watch Siesta Key. I'm watching every piece of TV possible.
Yes.
And I think that's the best part is I'm consuming so much content, so I have so much to talk about.
Yes. And I was listening to your show this morning, and I loved what you guys were talking about. You had everything. You were obviously talking about the Red Sox game last night, but then you were also talking about kind of the drama with the Red Sox game as well, and then other things too, like Kanye West, and kind of just branching off. So I really love the diversity that show has, and it must make it more fun.
Oh my God. In the news segment in itself, we can talk sports, real news, which is always very heavy.
Yes.
So we try to do some type of lightheartedness when it comes to the real news. And then entertainment. And so that's when I come in and I'm like, oh, did you guys see that Kanye West is now going by Ye and not Kanye?
Yes, very, very interesting. So you also work, obviously, with a bunch of dudes and a bunch of guys. And as I'm the only girl, I have 2 brothers, very sports-focused family. I love it. I love being in that environment. I know, as someone who doesn't watch as much sport as my brothers, I sometimes feel a little on the outs. But how have you felt being a woman in a very men's-dominated environment?
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, I have a little bit of allergies.
Take a break whenever you need. Whenever you need. Realness, baby. Realness.
My God. I'm telling you, if you're in Boston right now, my eyes are constantly watering. I have the tickle in my throat. It's nonstop. But anyway.
Boston is a crazy place.
Yes.
I was just in Florida and my skin could breathe again. It felt so good.
The best. I'm going in 2 weeks. I can't wait.
So nice.
I have been blessed with people that I work with.
Yeah.
Men in particular, and I've had the best females that I've worked with, the nicest, most supportive group in Boston in particular. I think people would assume that it's very catty. Yeah. It's not.
Right, because it can be so competitive.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you have to actually remember that while we're all going, oh my God, my voice.
I love it. I like a raspiness.
We're all going for similar jobs. So we're going to dinner, we're working with each other, we're going to games together, both covering the games, but also going as fans.
Right.
And then we know if there's a big job out there that we are probably sitting next to somebody else who sent in their resume or sent in their reel. We do a great job, my group of friends in particular, separating the two. And I don't think every place around the country is able to do that. And I talk to so many people that live in California or Texas or wherever. And they're like, is that real or is that just for Instagram? Are you guys actually all friends, or is this a big drama playing out in Boston? We just only see, the curated photos. I'm like, no, it's absolutely real, and it's so nice to have that support from the female side and from the male side as well. And we have a long way to go as females in sports, but right now I can say maybe 3 times in my career, and I've been out of school now 7 years, that I've stepped back and thought, that was an interesting conversation that I just had, or I didn't love what that male counterpart just said to me.
Or how it made you feel.
Yes, exactly. And so like I said, I can't thank the guys enough that I've worked with, because not only have they talked to me like a peer, not like they were superior, but they've talked to me as an adult.
Right.
And also as a professional. And they've asked me questions on how to handle a certain situation,
right.
or questions about how I felt about a game or a practice or a certain player. And it's not that divide anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm the man, I'll talk X's and O's, you're the female, you talk kind of fluff. And that's how this is going to go.
Right. As they should respect
Right.
your opinion, because you have that experience. I know you've covered Super Bowls and really awesome sports events. So I love the quote, you don't ask someone advice. You don't ask, someone who's 500 pounds how to become a superior athlete. You don't ask a phenomenal business person, how to run a marathon,
Right.
But you have this experience, and that should be respected. And I'm very happy to hear it is.
Yeah, and I think so many times you have to step back. If you are one of those people that think females don't have a place in sports broadcasting because they've never played the game when it comes to football or, whatever. If that's how you think of it, you need to go back and look at all of the males that you respect in that same regard, that you listen to, that you watch on a broadcast, and then tell me about their football career.
Right.
Tell me about their
Exactly.
years in the NFL.
Exactly.
Because a lot of the guys that you are following on Twitter, watching on TV, don't have that.
Right.
And that's okay. They're brilliant, but the females in the same regard are also brilliant.
Absolutely.
And they should be thought of on the same playing field. And I think we are really getting better about it.
That's awesome.
But, there'll always
Right,
be a
right.
few of those people that don't want it.
Of course. But at the same time, like, for me, even just being someone who's also interested in sports, I don't know, probably half as much as you do.
No, I'm sure you do.
For me, it encourages me to get, like, more involved and to learn more, and to just, so maybe it gives us that little spark behind us. Oh yeah, you think I don't know about this game, you think I don't know about what's going on, and really kind of just owning it.
And I think a lot of times, I heard this quote once and it always stuck with me. Females in sports broadcasting can say something wrong and they don't know what they're talking about. A male counterpart could say the same exact thing and they misspoke. And I think that's where we need to fix it.
Absolutely. And I love that mindset. For sure. Like, even when you think of someone like Chris Berman, right, who is very close friends with my dad, he by no means was playing in the NFL, right? He's just the kind of guy you want to watch sports with, and therefore you respect what he has to say.
And I think that adds something to a broadcast because it makes it more relatable. It makes it feel like if you're watching a game alone, like you're watching with friends. And that's what everybody wants, right? Nobody wants to sit during a game or during a news segment or anything post game, halftime, and feel like they're being talked down to.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the old way of TV. And now with this new, and I think it's a nod to the digital era.
Yeah.
Because digitally, I feel like people feel more close to each other. So if you're sitting there watching a game, you don't want somebody telling you don't know what you're talking about and this is how it's going. You want to feel like you're in a part of the conversation. You want to feel like you're just chatting with your friends. And I love how that's going because it makes everything much more enjoyable.
Yeah, I love that. So I want to speak a little bit more to the experience that you do have. So give me a little bit what you have done kind of since you've graduated to now.
So I graduated in 2014. BC is an ACC school, and I knew I wanted to do sports. I didn't know if I wanted to go. I mean, it's hard to go directly professionally to pro sports. It's hard to go directly to TV. I got a great job with the ACC Digital Network where I was a part-time on air, which was awesome because it gave me the experience to go about editing, logging, writing shot sheets, learning about different types of editing systems, cameras. I mean, we ran the gamut there.
That's awesome.
But then I had 2 days a week usually where I was reading highlights, learning how to read highlights, doing news segments, doing interviews, stuff like that. And I will always, it was probably the hardest part of my career so far.
Yeah.
Because it was so new. I was so
Right.
used to like I said, born and raised in Lowell. My parents were 50 minutes away from
Yes.
BC while I was living there. So the drop of the hat, my parents were there. They were at every football game, a lot of basketball games. They would go on the road while I was cheering on the road.
That's awesome.
So I saw them a lot.
Yeah.
And being an only child, picking up and moving when you're 22 years old to North Carolina,
Yeah.
where you know no one,
Yeah.
is a hard experience. And I think especially add that you're working in sports, so your hours are crazy. You're working mostly weekends. You're not making a ton of friends.
Right.
I was lucky that my best friend from home, her college friends all lived in Charlotte where I lived. So I had a built-in friend group, I guess you
Right.
could say, but I saw them like once every other week.
Yes.
So building those relationships, they're great, and I had so much fun with them, but it was hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think, and you're tired all the time, you just don't have any time on your hands, and you're also dealing with, okay, am I good at this? Is this what I should be doing?
Exactly, because you feel like you're making all these sacrifices
Yes.
and probably feeling pretty lonely as well. So then on this side, you're like, all right, I'm really putting a lot into this. Is it worth it?
Oh my God. And you talk about missing holidays.
Yeah.
Anything like
Wow.
that. It was just, that was probably the hardest part of the transition into
Right.
the real world for me.
Right. And so young, too.
Right. Yeah. And so I was there for 2 years, and by the end of it, and I love Charlotte, like great place to visit.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just I'm a Northeast girl.
Yep.
And I always thought if I moved to the South, I would live there for the rest of my life.
Really?
Yeah. I'm
That's
very
so interesting.
preppy, Lily Pulitzer-like.
Uh-huh.
Like, I thought I would thrive in the South, and it's just too slow for me. And I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
So I got a job with Lax Sportsnet, which was a lacrosse network that was launching in Boston. They're still there. They're a subscription-based streaming service, and they have a ton of games. I actually think that they're with They did some deal with ESPN. So a lot of my friends that still work there like pop up on ESPN2 and
Cool.
all the time doing
Cool.
sideline. Yeah, because lacrosse is awesome.
Oh, and it's growing, too.
Crazy. And
Yeah.
there are so many. So when I got the job, they asked, do you have a lot of it? Do you play lacrosse? Do you have lacrosse experience? I'm like, I've read a few highlights before, but I'm willing to learn. And to learn about box lacrosse, the NLL versus the MLL, and now the Players League, like everything about lacrosse
Yeah.
is just, there's something for everybody. And so that was really, really fun, but I was only there for 6 months. And then I got a call from Nesson. I had interned there while I was in college and kept in touch, which they always say when you do your internships, to keep in touch with the people you meet. And it's so true because I kept in touch. I was sending my reels. I was sending my updated resume.
That's great advice.
Yeah, I was asking for feedback all the time. And it's awkward to ask
Yes.
for feedback, especially from people that just knew you as an intern, because let's face it, your first year out of school, you're making a lot of mistakes. So
Right.
to then get on the phone and know you're just going to be told, yeah, don't do this, watch your voice here.
Right.
You really shouldn't say the way you worded this. You should. It's
Growth is uncomfortable,
Yes.
though, so you really have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, specifically when you want to get better at something.
right. And I think taking that and running with it is the best thing you
That's
can do. So I got a call, and then I was there for 5 years.
Awesome. And how was that experience?
It was great. Oh my God.
Us
my
too,
voice-
I know. I'm coughing.
We're okay, people. Don't
We're
worry.
good. We're good.
Nesson presented more opportunity to me than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
I had some of the best pinch me moments I could have ever asked for, and especially at the age that I was at. A Super Bowl that I covered, I went to one or two, just for fun. And then there were parades on parades on parades.
That's awesome.
And there were so many interviews that I had. Like, I had a one-on-one with David Ortiz once, which I just couldn't believe what my life was. And I think, don't get me wrong, this type of work isn't sunshine and butterflies day in and day out, but what
Right.
job is?
Right.
And I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, you have to work a Saturday night, but you're working a Celtics game.
Exactly.
And that's so
Yes.
cool. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's cool. I'm not kicking up my feet and eating a bucket of popcorn and having a
Right.
beer. Like, I'm there 2-3 hours before the game starts, and I'm there 3-4 hours after the game ends. So there are definitely a lot of challenges when it comes to any type of broadcasting, but especially when you're working at a place where I had a digital role that was kind of like a swing. So they
Yeah.
would take me to TV every so often. But digitally, you're usually editing your own stuff. You're posting your own stuff. So I don't think people see everything that goes into it. It's not like a light goes on and, you know, you say a bunch of stuff and then you go home. That's just not how it works. So I learned a lot in that role. But 5 years and... then I had to say goodbye. And I think that the way that it ended maybe wasn't great for everybody. But at a certain point, you reach a relationship or friendship or business relationship where you're like, all right, I think this has probably run its course. And I have this other opportunity. And I think it's time that I do that.
Yeah. Was that new opportunity the Greg Hill Show?
Yes. Yeah. So it was a very long process. I kind of went into it with no expectations. I had never done radio before. I got asked to do like a fill-in role when it was Dale Arnold and Richard Keefe. So I went on for like an hour, maybe 2 hours, and it was the most terrifying thing of all time. Radio fans are a lot different than TV. I think they feel like they can say whatever they want to you. TV, there's kind of this disconnect where you're just kind of a talking head. You're not, by the way. Anybody who says that somebody in a news show or on TV is a talking head, they are not. The amount of hours that goes into what you're watching in that 30-minute news show is more than you could ever imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you say, oh, well, you just read a teleprompter. Reading a teleprompter, not as easy as it looks.
I know, it's really not.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that go into broadcast in itself, but radio, I had no idea. I had no expectation for it. And the first time I went on, I left. I called my parents. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. And it felt so natural. And I think I'm still trying to get out of my own head sometimes.
Right.
Because with TV, you are scripted. That is true. And it's less personality and it's more making sure you're getting the facts. This is more of a free-for-all. And so to switch your brain after 7 years of doing it one way to be like, be yourself and you don't need to second guess anything you're going to say is hard to do.
Oh, of course, because your mindset is such a certain way in TV with the production of it all and following scripts and also kind of the time crunch as well. And then you have to switch over to kind of be like, oh, no, just be yourself.
Yes, just be yourself. Yes. It's just a mic. Act like you're having fun and chatting. And it's so different. It seems like it would be so easy. It's really not.
Yeah, no, even doing the podcast sometimes, it's like, oh no, just have an organic conversation. But at the same time, you know, you want things to flow a certain way. You still have a certain expectation on yourself as well.
Right, yeah. And I think after my first week, once I got the job and started doing it full time, my first week, I came home on that Friday, and my fiance was like, "I've never seen you happier in a professional way. I've never seen you feel like more fulfilled." And I think that's super important. If you're not feeling fulfilled in your job, then what are you doing? Because it's not going to be fun. Not every job's fun. Not every job's fun every single day. There are going to be hardships no matter what. But if you're not fulfilled, you're spending more time usually with the people you're working with than your own family. You're spending more hours doing your job than you are doing anything else.
Right.
So you got to find something that you enjoy even a little bit, or that just makes you feel alive or makes you feel like you could get up in the morning to go to work. If you're not doing that, you're wasting time. And there's always a job posting that would probably be more appealing to you.
Right.
And you're probably qualified for more jobs than you think you are.
Oh, absolutely. And you say you feel fulfilled with this new job. What do you think specifically is making you feel that way? Do you think it's the kind of conversations you're having? Is it the people? What do you think it is?
I think it's probably the people.
Yeah.
And again, don't get me wrong. Most of my best friends from the industry are people that worked at Nesson, work at Nesson. The people that I worked with at LAX were great. The people I worked with at ACC were great. But I'm working with such a small group right now. I mean, we're in the studio at 5 a.m. and then we're off at 10. So we're there before really anybody else is in the building.
Yeah.
And so you get kind of very close very quickly.
Right.
And I feel so supported.
That's
like
awesome.
every day, everybody's making sure, and there's poking fun.
Yeah.
You know, there's all of that.
I listened. I love it. It's like it's like a friendship.
Exactly.
There's chirping. Who said the Red Sox are 6 outs away?
Oh yeah. Curtis this morning.
He was so salty that everyone kept chirping him.
Yes.
It was awesome. It reminded me of like my little brothers.
Exactly, and that's what it feels like. And it's like, yeah, I'm the only girl in the room, but I don't feel it. They make sure that I'm really taken care of and that I feel comfortable at all points. And it speaks volumes to their character, but it also just makes me feel so confident going in there every day.
Right, absolutely.
Waking up at 4 a.m. is not great. It's a wild switch in your life, but it's worth it when you go and you're enjoying the people that you're around.
That's awesome. Do you see the sunrise when you wake up at 4 a.m.?
No, I am in the studio before the sun has risen.
Oh my goodness.
And then we have one little window. Actually, it's a pretty big window, but it's kind of blocked by like a satellite right outside of our studio. And so all of a sudden I'll look over at one point and say, oh, there's the sun.
Oh, it's daytime now. Would you look at that?
Yeah. How's the weather going to be today? Okay.
I love your story specifically from going to school to the different jobs you have, because you have a lot of different experience. And something that I caught on to through your story is along the way, you really found out the things you don't enjoy doing and you paid attention to that.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, because I think a lot of people will sometimes get into a job or even a friend group, a lifestyle, a hobby, and they're unhappy and they're kind of like, why am I unhappy? Well, what are you doing?
I think that for me, when I graduated, if you would ask me what my dream job was, I'd be like, I want to do sideline. That's what I want to do. I want to be a NFL sideline reporter, whatever. I still want to do some sideline work. Like, I would love to do college sideline, but I don't want to do it full time. And yes, this might change in 5 years from now. But right now, today, where I'm at in my life, I always knew that I wanted to get married, have a family. I wanted to have that sense of normalcy.
Right.
And I think when you're in a job, whether you are an athlete, a coach, on a broadcast team, I'm sure there are tons of other types of work out there, a doctor, a nurse. There are so many jobs where you kind of have to pick and choose. And I never wanted to do that. I always knew that I wanted a job where I didn't have to sacrifice my personal life for my job. And so there were a lot of jobs out there that seemed like they would be really great.
Right.
And you'd get a call about it. You'd have to think, no, this isn't going to work for me. This isn't going to work for my lifestyle. It's not going to work for my family. It's not going to work with my mental health.
Of course, which is so important to take into account as well.
So important. You never want to be so upset with your day-to-day life or be so upset about missing. Yeah, you're going to miss a holiday or two for any type of work. You're going to miss a wedding or a bachelorette party or a birthday party. But do I want to miss all of it? No.
Right.
And so trying to find a job, and that's hard to do, trying to find a job in this industry that kind of allows that work-life balance.
Specifically in this industry.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
It's unheard of.
Right.
And so that was appealing to me too with radio. Monday through Friday, I wake up at 4 a.m. I'm off at like 10 o'clock. And then, there's some meetings after, or there's some events outside of it. But that's all fun.
Exactly, like going to the Red Sox game
or
maybe covering a certain event or networking. So it's awesome because it's clear that you know your values. And I find that when people are unhappy specifically in their occupation, it's when their occupation isn't aligning with their values. And I just think that's so important, because also if you're not happy and because your job isn't aligning with what you believe in, you're probably not going to be as good at it as you can be.
Absolutely. And I think so many people try to force it.
Right.
So to put my dream job into perspective, if I graduate college and I say I want to be a sideline reporter, an NFL sideline reporter, and I work to get there, and even though I see certain things on the road that are like, ooh, do I actually? Nope, that's the top of the top, and that's what I want to do. I want to be the best that I can be, and everyone's telling me. There's so many people that tell you all the time, oh, well, if you want to, go up in the job, you need to go this route. You need to do this. It's not for everybody. And if I didn't listen to my gut for a lot of these kind of turns and twists that I took, I never would have told you I was doing radio. I did not want to do anything that had to do with radio. That did not seem appealing to me at all. And I think when I took the switch from TV to radio, I got a lot of messages from people, and even some text messages from people that I know personally that were like, why do you do that? Why are you doing this? I don't understand. Some coworkers of mine, why would you go from TV to radio? This doesn't make sense.
Right.
This doesn't seem like the path that you wanted to take.
Or should take.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I second guessing myself?
Right.
This seems right to me.
Right.
It's my life. This is what I want to do.
Exactly.
And God, I'm so happy I did it. I'm so
That's
glad
so
I didn't
awesome.
listen to the other people.
How important do you find it is to really just sometimes dive into something new and get that experience for, say, radio, which is something that is entirely new for you?
I think you take every opportunity that's
Yeah.
given to you,
Yeah.
and it's so much easier said than done because you can always come up with an excuse. If somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, Shannon, we want you to do an interview for your podcast with Justin Bieber.
Yes. How'd you know?
Yeah, with Justin Bieber.
He was the first love of my life.
Exactly. But we want to, you have to do it on this specific day, and it's also the same day as
Right.
your best friend's wedding.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
There are
Yeah.
certain things like that.
I would do
where-
it.
Right.
I would still do it a
Yes.
million %.
But it's so hard.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people don't realize
Absolutely.
the decisions you have to make. But and I think looking inward, you have to realize that there are going to be hard decisions you have to make.
Right.
And to always follow your gut, because it's never going to steer you in the wrong direction.
I was just going to ask you how you kind of navigate making those kind of decisions and kind of just living through what you know is best for you is what I find is always the best for you. Because if I, as a child and in high school, really was a people pleaser. I was class president, I was dance team captain, and then I went to college and struggled a lot with anxiety because so much changed and I didn't have as much control. And I also was struggling to make new friends after I left all these awesome other people. And I've kind of shifted that since because I had so many friends that I thought were friends, but in reality, all I was trying to do was please everybody. So it seemed like I had so many friends. And then I kind of switched my mindset once I realized I was anxious. I was like, why am I so anxious? And I switched to, well, let me just focus on me for a bit. I studied abroad, and from there, some people are like, oh, well, I haven't heard from you for so long. Why aren't you hanging out with us? Because I was really just focusing on me. But what happened was I lost the friends that weren't really friends. I found out who my true friends were, and my personal life got so much better. So I always find that if you're doing what you feel is best for you, you'll become the best version of yourself. And from there, you'll continue to meet incredible people and be able to help people that you really want to help. So I love that you go back to kind of just following your own gut and not going off the expectations of other people.
And I think it's so interesting and important that you bring up, like, I was feeling anxious, because that's your body telling you that something's up.
Oh my God, I love this conversation.
Oh my
Yes,
God, when
a million
I was
%.
in Charlotte and I had this job and I loved the work I was doing.
Right.
I was working college sports. It was so fun. Great opportunities there. I was living in a cool city, meeting new people. It seemed like everything that I should want.
Right.
And I was, like, when I tell you, I was the most anxious I've ever been in my entire life, where I was on Lexapro. I was like taking medicine to try to chill me out.
Yep.
And I went to a doctor there. I said, I don't know what's up with me. I've never dealt with this before. College, high school, all I heard of other people that dealt with it, and I thought I kind of escaped, this millennial plague that was coming over. Everybody was anxious around me.
It's so true.
And I wasn't. And then I got to Charlotte and it was incontrollable. And I think
it's so hard, isn't it?
In relationships, dating people.
Yeah.
And I look back on certain dating relationships I had, and I was crazy. And it was like, because I was reading into everything, but I look and I say, okay, I'm living away from home. I have really little to no social life because I'm working all the time. I'm missing my family. I'm missing holidays. Oh, okay, I got to move back to Boston, and I got to get back to my roots and figure out what is going to work for me. And in that instance, as soon as I moved back to Boston, as soon as I was finding a work-life balance, and I know that is very hard for a lot of people to do, and it's not always, you can't do everything. I always say that. You can't do everything.
Exactly.
You can't have your job and go to every social event possible.
Exactly.
But finding that balance, I am so much less anxious. I am off Lexapro. Like, I am such a happier person that is I have little moments where I'll
course.
read into certain things, but for the most part, I'm a different person than I was when I was in Charlotte, and really for the first year or so out of Charlotte. It took a while for me to get back to that feeling of like, okay, I'm okay. Everything is okay.
Yes. And with a ton of change and moving around, that can cause anxiety. And it's so important because when it sounds like what you went through in Charlotte is very similar to what I went through when I first moved to school. Because like I said, I had this perfect life in high school, or at least I thought I did. And I had control of my own little world. And then I got thrown into this new place. And it was very difficult for me. But I love how you say paying attention to that anxiety, because of course, there's people who really struggle with anxiety on a day-to-day, and they really think that, why is this happening? Like, I don't understand why I feel this way. It's so important to look at what your day-to-day includes, who you're hanging out with, what you're listening to, what's your environment.
Right.
I love the quote, and I say it on this podcast all the time. You truly are a combination of the content you're surrounding yourself with, have that be books, your job, your overall environment, and the people you're surrounding yourself with too. But a question I have for you is, how do you separate the kind of anxiety that could be just from going through change and something new, and versus like recognizing this needs to change? When did you know to stick it out and kind of feel through things, or be like, all right, this is actually something that I do not like and I want to do different?
I think it takes a lot of self-reflection.
Yes.
And people can tell you all they want, like, oh, you're being crazy, like, relax, chill out. But until you actually think about, say, the day before or the week before or the month before, and you're like, when is the last time that I felt actually truly happy and didn't go through a day where I had a moment of panic?
Right.
And once you realize that you can't remember when that day was, that's when you have to make a difference. And I think what you said about looking at the day and thinking, okay, what was the trigger there? What kind of set me off?
Right.
And then if that trigger keeps coming up, it's time to remove that trigger from your life.
Yes.
And that's hard. That could be a person, that could be an activity, that could be your job.
Right.
There's a million different things that could set different people off. And for me, I think it was where I was in the world, where I was living, and I had to move home. And it's like, oh my God, am I such a child? I'm such an only child. I always say that. I'm such an only child that I had to move back to be closer to my parents. And I don't see my parents every day. I don't see them every week.
Right.
I don't see them every month.
Right.
But it's that comfort that they're so close.
Yes.
That I can, if something goes wrong, I can get to them.
Yes.
And I also think, I'm in a stable, very loving relationship now. Having that support system is, you can't ask for anything better than that.
Yes. It always comes back to values. It really does. Because for some people, it really might be their path to go off by themselves and fully pursue their career, because that's what aligns with what they believe in. If you're going against your values, at the end of the day, there's going to be mismatches in your happiness. I think that is just always the case.
And personality-wise.
Yes.
I have some friends that are such introverts, and I was so shocked when they moved away. And they thrived once they got out of here. It's so different for everybody. And I think that's why when it comes to careers, you shouldn't box somebody in. There shouldn't be one path. There's so many different paths. And you'll usually end up doing something where you're like, whoa, how did I get here? And if you had told me 10 years ago I was doing this, I would have told you were crazy.
It's so cool though, isn't it? Where life can lead you and how it goes. I love looking back, and I was on Prozac myself when I was in that really anxious stage, and it's so cool everything makes so much sense when you look back on it.
Yep.
Like what was causing you to feel this way, why this may have happened, why this relationship didn't work. And just having that kind of trust in the present moment is it's very freeing.
Oh my
God,
God,
I think for any listeners that do have anxiety, because I know a lot of people, even on a small scale, can relate to that. I think it's so important to recognize that it's not stuck with you. It's really not. As long as you believe it's not. As long as you believe and remember that you are in control of your life and therefore your emotions as well, that you'll get there. It's just a matter of changing things up, a lot of self-reflection, and kind of testing things out. Life is just this big experiment.
And talking to people too. I felt so embarrassed that I was, because like you said, I felt like I had everything going for me. I felt like, why, my God, there's nothing wrong in my life. Why am I feeling this way? And you almost feel guilty You shouldn't, because, you can't control how you're feeling. And if you let that keep going, God, things could get completely out of hand.
Yes.
And so if you just talk to people and try to figure out what's going on in your life, you'll be so much happier.
Yes, I love that. Always talking to other people, hearing other perspectives, releasing kind of the energy that is within you, have it be negative or stressful or whatever it is. My boyfriend and I he came up with this great term this past week. It's like, which dog do you want to feed within you? As if you have like these two hungry dogs that want your mental attention. And it's if you are already anxious and then you're judging yourself and then you're feeling angry at yourself and even sad, you're really feeding that dog, versus if you're like, all right, let me be kind of kind to myself. Like, where am I at? And almost having that conversation with yourself as well, it really allows you to lift yourself out of that cloud that can be anxiety.
And I still find myself every so often where I'll think back, I'll have an interaction with somebody, then I'll think about it like right before going to bed or the next day, where you're like, was that weird? Did I say something that was weird? Do they think I'm weird?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Do they hate me? Was I nice enough?
Was that obnoxious? Yes.
Where you think about certain situations.
Yes.
And now I've realized it so much where I'm like, Courtney, snap out of it.
Yes.
That person is probably, you walked away, they never thought about you again.
Literally no one fucking cares.
No.
Isn't that the best thing ever?
It's the best thing ever.
Even if like, obviously there's some extreme cases where things can happen, but like for the most part, if you do something small, if you embarrass yourself, if you're not the best version of yourself, they might think about it for everyone's always back on them. Like, and it's so freeing. Yep. At the end of the day, that person you might have thought you offended is thinking the same thing about someone else.
Right.
And it's unnecessary to kind of live in that.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like I love like kind of hippie-esque conversations, but what are your thoughts on your thoughts? Like, do you think you are your thoughts?
Yes, I have become like, I manifest every day.
Yes, me
which
too.
Sounds so, and I am not this person.
Yes.
But I'm on TikTok, as one is.
Yes,
and
as we all are nowadays.
And I've seen so many people, right? Like once I started doing daily affirmations and I've started manifesting, my life has just shifted in a way I can't explain. When I tell you, the beginning, I turned 30 on Friday.
You turned 30 this Friday?
Yeah.
So, like, it just happened or it's going to happen?
Coming.
Oh, my goodness.
Friday, yep.
Happy early
Thank
birthday.
You. Yes.
How exciting.
I know, but
what an honor. I'm so happy you're here.
Oh, my God, of course. But the beginning of my 29th year, I was like, all right, I wasn't really loving the direction my job was going.
Yeah.
I was, there was a lot of moving parts. We were in a pandemic as I cough. And I was like, okay, well, everybody else is doing this and it's seeming to work. I'm going to just start doing it. And I write it. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying this and admitting it.
It's real. Let me tell you.
But every morning I write I don't chase, I attract, what belongs to me will simply find me, which was on TikTok. And I saw it and I just started writing it. Every day, write that. And then I write things I'm thankful for. And then I write things that I want to happen. And I do that day. Not like a big, sometimes I'll throw in big picture items, but for the most part, it's like, have a great show. If I have an interview that day, like make sure that this interview goes well and whatever. Be kind to yourself. Stuff like that.
Yes.
My 29th year has been a wild ride.
Yes.
Like when I tell you everything has happened in my 29th year, it's crazy. So I am not giving that up anytime soon.
Don't.
It's so, I can't even explain. And I'm when I tell you were the first person that I have ever told that I'm like, and I'm so embarrassed by it. I'm like sitting there in the morning, I'm like writing, and if somebody comes, I shut the book. And I just like look at them like, oh yeah. I pretend like I'm taking notes. I'm writing like ridiculous things.
It's
in this
not
notebook.
ridiculous. Okay, so let me preface this. I could not be more into this.
Okay.
Just so you know. And a lot of people that I brought onto this podcast, have it be Jen DeAngelis, who just created this phenomenal sweatsuit brand in Boston. She's very hip to this. My really good friend Margaret, who's a fitness influencer, she's really into this. And every time they kind of tap into these things, their life really just kind of goes into this upscale. And even bigger people like Camille Kostek, she swears by manifesting and mindset and all of this. And this is something that I just really, really relate to. I could probably find literally in this notebook right now just some manifestations in here.
Yeah.
And I try to get everyone, I don't try to, you can't force anyone to do something, but I want you to know that it is incredibly real.
Yeah.
It's incredibly real. And I ask you if you think you are your thoughts, right? Which is a very kind of hippy-dippy kind of question to ask. But in my perspective, we're not our thoughts.
Okay.
Can I explain to you why?
Yes.
So I actually was just hanging out with a couple 18-year-olds in Florida, my brother and his friends, really smart kids. And my boyfriend and I were having this conversation with them. And we were saying, so know when you lay down before bed, right?
Yep.
And you're trying to fall asleep. And as you're trying to fall asleep, like these thoughts are going, right?
Yep.
What did I say to him? What did they think? What do I have to do tomorrow? In a sense, there's this part of you that's like, shut the fuck up.
Oh, yes.
You know what? That's you. That's the true you, right?
Okay.
That's the true you. Those thoughts are just there. It's this non-going, my friend Rena likes to call it the monkey mind.
Okay.
That just keeps going and going and going. So it's not a matter of we are our thoughts. It's more a matter of how can we train our thoughts to work in our benefit. And that's what you're doing with the journaling.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I like that because and that makes sense. I'm not necessarily thinking these things that I'm writing
Exactly.
down. I'm writing down what I want to think.
Exactly. So you are writing down these things, and as you write these things down, it is going into your subconscious. So consciously, you're writing these things
Right.
down, and then as you go on about your day, they're in your subconscious. But what happens with the subconscious once you feed it these positive things, you want, the way you want to feel, naturally throughout your day, you get these kind of downloads of ideas that get you closer to those thoughts. You start acting in ways to get you closer to those things because you're programming it literally in to your subconscious and your monkey mind.
Did I come to a therapy session?
I know everyone says that. I'm sorry, I can't help
No,
myself.
I need
literally
this.
can't
This is
help
what I
myself.
need every single week.
I know. It's really, really true, though, and I could give you plenty of resources on this kind of stuff because to me, it's the coolest thing in the whole world, just kind of tapping into our power in this world and what we can achieve. This podcast would not be happening unless I thought in this way.
Right.
Because when you think about it, if you are writing down your goals and the things you want to do, how are they not going to happen? Because one, there's that part of all of us that wants to achieve our goals. But it's easy to forget about those goals.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're writing down what you want to achieve, naturally in your life, these things will start happening. And that's why it's no coincidence when you recognize that you want to start a certain career or you want to work with a certain person. Oh, next thing you know, like someone that's connected to that person is in your life. And oh, you're here. It's because you put it out there.
Right.
And like it's not fake that what you put out there comes back to you.
Oh, I love it.
It's
I love
insane.
it.
It's
I'm
cool.
telling you though, I'm such a believer after
Yeah,
this past year.
yeah.
So
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm so happy
it's
for
been,
you.
It's been really enjoyable. But
Yes.
the anxiety does creep in because if
Yeah.
things are going really well, you're like, the other shoe's got to
Of
drop at
course.
some point.
Of course. Well, and this is another cool conversation I love. Everything is kind of possible and all true, right? In the sense that even when you look at politics, right? I was watching this TikTok and it was like literally everything is true. You can Google like how coffee can make you live longer, how coffee can
Kill you.
kill you. Both. It's both true. Right? So just having that perspective of both of these things are true. My life can continue to get better or something I can get hit by a bus, right? It's just a matter of which dog do you want to feed.
Man.
Yeah.
What? I didn't think that I was going to leave a
Yes.
therapy session on this
Yes.
Tuesday. It's
Yes,
Tuesday,
ma'am.
right?
Sure.
Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely.
Having a bubble now.
It's cool, right?
Yep.
And it's also important too that with anxiety is part of the human experience. We're just spiritual beings having a human experience. And part of that is having this mind and this environment that does create anxiety. Because at the end of the day, being a human means staying alive, means putting yourself in a dangerous environment. Or it's about taking care of yourself and, not fucking something up. Like
Right.
you do want to protect yourself. So anxiety is going to come. It's just a matter of not letting it control you.
Yeah.
So I get anxious. I was like, yesterday I had a flight. It was a little stressful. I was under stuff. I was a little anxious.
Yeah.
But if you just kind of let it sit in you with some love and acceptance, it doesn't take over your entire body, and you can kind of watch it.
Yeah.
You can literally kind of see it there, and you can be like, that's interesting.
If you acknowledge it, it's not
exactly.
it's not as scary.
Exactly. And it's going to leave, and that there's going to be certain things that you do that get it to go away. There's this a phenomenal quote. I'm just a walking TikTok at this point.
Love it. Aren't we all though?
Yes, for real. But life is really just these waves, right? And sometimes you're at the top of the wave, but naturally, that's going to crash.
Right.
And if you didn't crash, you wouldn't appreciate riding the top of the wave.
Yeah.
And that's
So
all.
true.
That's my. That's my
Girl, preach.
It's really awesome though, and in terms of faith and spirituality, I've really just connected with that kind of mindset in the past year or so, and anyone who knows me that I'm fucking living my best life right now.
Yeah.
And something that's really helped me as well is helping others and spreading this kind of message. And so thank you for opening up about the fact that you're writing these things down, because a lot of successful people, they don't open up about like what's kind of getting them there, but a lot of successful people I know for a fact are putting what they want out there.
Yeah.
They're putting what they want out there.
And it helps you actually visualize what you want.
Of
You can
course.
say, I would love that new car. I would love that outfit. I would love this. Like, there are a ton of things that you love you would love to have, but what do you really want?
Yes.
Because when you're actually writing it down, and it probably puts your wants and needs into perspective. You're like, ooh, this is kind of materialistic.
Exactly.
Like, where are my priorities
Exactly.
here? So it's a good self-reflection while also trying to put it out in the universe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, how are you going to get what you want and be what you want if you don't know?
Right.
You have no idea. It's easy to say, I want a mansion. I want a convertible BMW. I want XYZ, these material things. But in reality, what you want is success. Okay, well, what's going to get me to success, right? Okay, well, what if I am a doctor and I'm making a ton of money as a doctor and I'm saving lives and that really aligns with my values? Or what if I'm an actor, a famous musician? Or what if I'm an investment broker and I'm on Wall Street, right? It's just a matter of, again, aligning with what you want or what you think you want with kind of this bigger goal and what can really get you there. Because, for example, if I want to be super successful, but I don't like blood, I don't like surgeries, I don't like the medical field. Of course,
You and
some
me
people,
both.
Exactly. Like some people, that's perfect for them and that aligns with them. So aligning happiness with your goals, it's so fun because then you're getting things you want, but you're also having so much fun.
Right.
So much fun.
Best of both worlds.
Exactly. Exactly. And I feel like that's what a career really should be.
Yep.
Just this awesome lifestyle of you're working towards something that you really want, but you're also really happy on your day-to-day. And I think that's so, so key.
And when you start appreciating smaller things. Like
Right.
I've gotten into my new routine, and every day I go on this long walk. It's not the same route every day, but it's, similar. I listen to a podcast. It's kind of my time to decompress and like reset my day. So it's like if my morning was great, if my morning went terribly, if it was this, if it was that, I can kind of come back to myself in that walk.
Yes.
And at the end, I feel so much better. But I'm starting to appreciate little things. I'm like, this is why I wanted to live in New England. Look at the foliage. Look at this. This is stunning. The temperature is perfect. And we've been having just a great fall here.
Phenomenal.
In general. But you appreciate little things.
Yes.
And you notice things in your day-to-day life. It sounds so like wooey.
Oh,
but
exactly.
It's so true.
It's so true. I did too. We're excited.
Yeah, very excited.
It comes with presence, when you're really caught up in a lot of different things, have it be your own stress, your own schedule, and you're not taking a moment to really just be alone with yourself.
Right.
Like those walks are doing more for you than you probably even realize, because if you're never going back and reflecting on your thoughts, have that be through a walk or through a meditation or through journaling, then how are you going to really know where you're at?
Right.
Because if you're constantly on the next thing, how are you going to have that time to reflect on how something went or where you're at or how you feel?
Yeah.
So it's so awesome that you are recognizing that you're really noticing beautiful little things.
Yep.
And that's coming with that presence and that awareness that comes with, spending some time with yourself, honestly. How do you feel when you were in North Carolina and you were, by yourself for the most part? How do you feel like you grew during that time? Because for me, what got me out of my anxious state was going abroad and literally just living in a dorm by myself.
So for me, I think I was always confident, but I was never, how do I want to put this? I think I always depended on other people for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Once I was alone, I learned how to live on my own, and I learned how to be in my own thoughts. I think when you're an only child, a lot of people assume that you spend so much time alone that you're really good at being by yourself.
Right.
I was never like that.
Right.
I always had a friend over. I always had a cousin over.
Yeah.
I was always with my parents and their friends. My parents did a really good job making it so that it didn't feel like I was an only child.
Right.
Vacations, everything like
Yes.
that. And I'm so blessed that they were able to do that. But for me, that was probably the first time I was alone.
Yes.
And so there were days where if I had an off day and I didn't have any plans, I didn't speak. I would go to bed at night and I'm like, I haven't
Which
even.
must have been so different for you.
Oh my God, so different. I was just with my own thoughts, and I think that probably led to a lot of anxieties as well.
Of course.
I think I learned a lot about myself, and I learned that I'm a lot tougher than I thought I was, and I have much thicker skin than I thought I did. I'm still learning how to, grow that skin. I need that skin to be thick. Like I need it to be thick, 3 C's thick.
Oh, I feel that. I have been very sensitive in myself. Do you feel like when you do struggle with something like that, is it something someone else says, or is it more like something happening, like something, a difficult experience?
It's always something someone said.
Okay.
And I think people will say, oh, well, Courtney, it's a random person. You don't even know them.
Exactly.
It's always, they're living in their parents' basement. That's always the sentence.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. I could have, right now, if I open my phone, I could have 20 really nice DMs, one terrible one.
Oh, of course.
And the nice ones are nice. The terrible one will sometimes ruin my day, depending on the severity of it. And I need to stop letting that happen. And I've done a better job doing it. I think I have a really hard time with whether or not people like me. And so if somebody doesn't like me and makes it very known, it's hurtful for me. I have a really hard time accepting it. I want to know why. I want to know how I can fix it, how I can be better, and why should I care? If you don't like me, fine. I shouldn't care, but I do. And I'm also, it's interesting because I'm the type of person that I think if I don't like somebody, I'm usually not fake about it. Like I'm good with I have so many great friends.
Yes.
I don't need to be fake nice to people all the time.
Exactly.
And that might sound harsh. I've always been that way. I think I was probably labeled more like mean out of my group of friends.
Yes.
I wasn't mean. I just wasn't talking about you behind your back. You knew where you stood with me.
Exactly. It's authentic.
Yeah.
It's authentic.
But then I can't look back and say, well, why don't they like me?
Exactly.
It's like, well, Courtney,
Exactly.
maybe it might be what you're doing.
I love how aware you are of where you're at and how you feel. And I relate to you so much as someone who really identifies as a people person. I'm very outgoing. I really valued having as many friends as possible. But at the end of the day, some of those, when I had 25 super close friends, 15 of them were talking shit behind my back. And I found out about it. And that's kind of the world, the universe, whatever you want to call it, giving you little signs of like, hey, this person's like not really there for you. And something that really helped me too, with specifically fights with close friends and my brothers, that always tears me apart. And something that really has helped me is any conversation you have with someone and something negative about you comes out of it, say have it be a DM or a comment. That's just them. That's coming out of them. There's a great quote. It's, you don't get lime juice out of an orange. If there's a situation and negativity comes out of you, it's not the situation. It's them. It's you. That's what that is. So you have to put more of like a force field around yourself in a sense, and let it just bounce right off, because it has nothing to do with you. It's an insecurity within them. If you're doing I'll give you a great example. I just started making content on TikTok like a month and a half ago. And something I've really been doing is just showing my life, showing this apartment, right?
The meanest platform though. People comment.
Sure. Oh, but
wild stuff.
You have to. I'm so ready for it, because I have this one video. It has like 800,000 views, and it's my apartment. And a lot of the things that people are saying are, "Oh, is that daddy's money? Like she's just a spoiled brat. Like this is just rich Boston. Like she's not actually from here." And all that's coming from is their own insecurities. Because you know what else is happening? People are liking those comments and commenting back to that. People like to watch it like a TV show. Here's this girl that has this dope apartment, which I pay for myself. I always have. Worked for, paid for myself, completely split this rent with my boyfriend. I know this. I know I deserve this. But they see that and they think, oh, she has something that I don't have. Let me tear her down.
Yeah.
Let me tear her down. And all the other people who are thinking the same thing are, let me like these comments. Let me encourage that person.
Yep.
So that's all it is. And that's why you can't take it personally. And you know what else? It fucking boosts up my engagement. So I go on there, I'm like, oh, why do you feel that way? At some point, I really don't enjoy trolling the trolls, but like I do for a little bit. And I literally ended one the other day. Someone was saying that I wasn't from Boston because I grew up 15 minutes, whatever. I ended it literally just sending you love, you know, because here they are. What situation are they in? How would you be feeling if all you were doing was spending your day shitting on people's lives, you know?
That's what I'm on social media all day, every day, as
Right.
I'm sure a lot of people are. And I can't imagine taking time out of my day to send a rude message
Right.
or to comment something mean on
Right.
somebody's post. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Because you don't need to. You
Yeah,
know?
but it's just, and I think that's the craziest part. And there have been so many DMs in kind of what you said about TikTok where I've responded and said like, hey man, it's always like a middle-aged man who is a proud girl dad in his bio with Bible verses. You know, it's always the people that are trying to portray that they are people for others, and then behind closed doors they're sending nasty messages. And I think sometimes I've gotten through to them where I'll send a message, I'm just like, hey, why don't you shoot me a follow? It must be hard to type in my name every time you want to spew hate. And they're like, oh, that was okay, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry, I came off wrong, I was having a bad day.
Right.
That's the other thing. So many people will send a message, they completely forget about it during a bad day. Well, you don't know when that is going to reach the person you sent it to. They could open it up and it ruins their whole day.
Right.
And if they don't respond to you, but they're harboring that resentment, they don't know that you had a bad day. They don't know what you were going through. But now they're living with the words that you sent them.
Of course. And it's obviously important for people to have that awareness, but I don't even look at it that way because I just know that they don't. And another thing that I always think of is, you know, people who are doing the things that you want to be doing. Think of someone I really look up to is Camille Kostek. She is crushing it right now. She's on the cover of magazines. She's on red carpets. She's hosting amazing TV shows. She's so cool. She's awesome. People who are above you, in a sense, or doing things that you want to be doing, they're not going to be talking shit about you, right? Like, you think Camille Kostek gives a fuck about me and what I'm doing? Like, I know her. She's an amazing person. But at the end of the day, the people who are talking shit about you are going to be the people below you who are jealous of something that you have.
Yeah. It's a good point.
That's how you have to look at it.
Yeah.
And you have to have just kind of empathy and compassion towards it, because at the end of the day, you have something that they want, and that's kind of sad, because that means they feel empty in a way. You know what I mean?
Nope. That
so,
makes sense.
And especially as we continue to grow our personal brands and are doing these things, we have a wider audience. And as we have a wider audience, the more cool things we do, there's going to be a larger audience of people who want to tear you down. It's the crabs in the bucket analogy, you know? As one crab starts to climb out of the bucket, the other crabs literally try to pull him down. Yeah. So it's a game. It's all a game, you know?
It is all a game, and it is good to have these types of conversations because it really does put things into perspective.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of what this podcast is all about. Like I said, I do want to talk sports with you, and you literally were at one of the coolest Red Sox games ever last night. But at the same time, talking about you and your experience and your mindset towards things is going to leave a bigger impact on my audience, in my opinion. So thank you for being so authentic and genuine.
I hope I make sense, because
you do.
When I wake up at 4 and then I talk after, I'm like, am I making sense?
You make perfect sense. Good. You make perfect sense. Good. And I want to end on a really positive note. This is something I like to ask a lot of people, and you can take a second to think about it, because it, again, can be a little woo-woo and out there. Don't overthink it. But what do you think your purpose is?
Hit with the hard questions.
I know. It's what I do, baby. It's what I do.
I would hope, and I think that my purpose is, God. I mean, it's so cliche to say, but I know that I feel the most joy when I get messages or people come up to me and say, hey, I listened to you this morning, and I was having a bad day and you brought a smile to my face. I remember when I was in high school, this guy who was a senior cheerleader, again, senior freshman, I always get the most out of those types of relationships. His name's Pete, and he came up to me at practice one night, and he said, you walked by me in the hallway today. I was having a terrible day, and you smiled at me, said hi, and it turned my day around. I don't know. I didn't even remember doing it. It's not like I'm going out of my way to try to make people's day. But when I hear that, it's like, I do have a purpose here. Because I think sometimes I said earlier, I'm not saving lives, but then sometimes I'm like, but I'm not saving lives. Or I'm not working at a shelter. I'm not, helping people every day. So when somebody says that I put a smile on their face,
but you are in your own way.
So that's what my purpose is. It's to be relatable and to make connections with people.
I love that.
That's all I want to do.
I love it.
And I hope that helps people in certain ways. And I think, I try to be really authentic and genuine in everything that I do, but especially when I'm on a platform where people are listening in their car or online while they're at work, because I do want to build those connections and make people feel like, okay, she feels that way too. It's not just me. Or, I think when I was growing up, everything was so scripted and so, if you were on the radio, on a broadcast, podcasts weren't a thing when I was growing up. There's so many different outlets now, but the media outlets that were available when I was growing up were so filtered in a certain way, kind of like how we say Instagram is now. It's getting better, but it's the best of that person's life. That's really what media was when I was growing up. So if you felt a certain way, there really wasn't that magazine article or TV show or reality show or broadcast to listen to and feel like, okay, there are other people in the world going through this. And so yeah, I try to keep it lighthearted. I really do. I try every morning. I'm like, there's so much negative talk when it comes to sports. Like, do people really want to be negative about our teams?
Right.
Especially at 6 a.m.
Right.
It's like, come on, this is fun. Like, let's get excited. We live in the coolest place ever. And so, yeah, I guess that's my purpose, is to...
Phenomenal answer.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Thank
I
you.
love it. I love how you really just want to leave a positive impact on the people that are listening to you, to the people that you meet. And I feel like you do. And I feel like I feel better after talking to you as well. So
my God, I feel lighter after talking to you. I feel like I'm going to go home, manifest a bunch of stuff. Do you do crystals?
No.
Okay, good. Okay.
I have 3 crystals. I don't know necessarily what they are. I know they have certain powers. I believe in these things, you know. I believe, like, anything that, I could say this pen, like, I'm going to write with this pen, it's going to be the best. If I write with this pen and I say this is going to be the best journaling I've ever done, me just thinking that it's going to have that effect will.
Yeah.
So to an extent, like, I do believe in all these things. I just believe heavily in intention. Yeah. And if you set an intention to do something a certain way, I think you're more likely to do it that way.
I love it.
Yeah. So I have some cool books and stuff that I'll tell you about as well if you're interested. Yep. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you have a super busy schedule. No. You've been up since 4 a.m. So I'm super happy we got closer through this talk as well.
This was great.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.